Our students of color need to see great instruction, and the teachers that are teaching them are going to need to see you as their instructional leader. Does it mean you have to be the best teacher? No, it doesn't, but it means that they need to see that you care most passionately about excellent teaching practice. If you have a group that's 10 or less, and you don't disaggregate data, you may miss that maybe your Native American students are really struggling because you don't have that 10, you have 8, or you have 9. If you don't intentionally disaggregate that data, you're going to lose those kids. Because if those students' scores are really low and you just never get to see them, they blend in with the rest of your population, you'll never address that as an issue. So don't just disaggregate data. How do you then talk about that data as a school? One of the things that really works well is having a data wall. You can say, so let's break out the data into African American, Latino, Asian American. If those data points aren't connected to a student face, they can also get lost. Those students can get lost. So I'd say the third point is create data walls in your school where you can actually see each student and where those students lie, and make sure that there's a teacher or a staff person or an adult who's accountable for each of those kids. And the best way to become culturally competent as a principal is to get involved in the community in which you serve. That is really, relationship is the most critical element. So you need to figure out as a principal, who are the community leaders? Who are the pastors? Who are the politicians in your community? Who are the other leaders in the community who may come from a different ethnic group or a different culture than you? You could go to 15-hour-long trainings about cultural competence. You will not learn as much as you will spending an hour a month with 4 or 5 or 6 community leaders. Last piece, you need to engage your families in the community, and you need to make your school the kind of place where some of your brown families are going to want to come and where your community members are going to want to come. Don't make the assumption that people don't come because they don't care. Sometimes they don't come because they feel like a foreign person in your territory. So you have to think as a principal, how can you build bridges out to the community to make them welcome? There are no recommendations that will require lots of resources because there aren't resources to be had. Some of the things that we're trying to do is really refocus the Professional Educator Standards Board. We developed some cultural competence standards. A number of us were on a committee that will go into effect. We're hoping they'll be passed by the legislature. And that these will really assist teacher preparation programs in helping teachers and principals become more culturally competent. Those are the kinds of things that doesn't require extra money from anyone. It just requires kind of looking at preparing teachers to teach differently. So it's how do we use what's already happening and kind of redefine and realign things so that we make sure our students of color really become a priority in our state. There's a lot of capital and resources out there that are being untapped. Businesses often, they don't have money to give anymore, but they do have time. And oftentimes they don't know how to engage with the school, but if we can be really specific, hey, we would really love to have some black businessmen come and be at the door to greet kids in the morning. We'd really love to have some Asian community members come and be in the lunchroom just to be around. If you have a lot of Vietnamese kids in your school, maybe you ask the Vietnamese community, would you be willing to come and send some adult professionals to just be in the lunchroom? The achievement gap is actually greater in our low-need schools. So middle-class schools tend to have a greater achievement gap between students of color and white students. And actually in our state it's white and Asian students as compared to the other 3 ethnic groups, but the gap is actually bigger. And I think sometimes we lose that because we make the assumption that this is really about socioeconomics. It's not just about socioeconomics. We still have some large gaps, and I have worked most of my career in high-need schools, but I also worked in a very low-need school. So I've seen both sides of it, and I'll never forget, I was in a school with there were only 5 black students and all white students. I mean, it was just black and white. There were no other ethnic groups, and those 5 black students came to me for lunch almost every day because they needed that connection point, and they felt lost in this community where they saw no one like them except for me. And it made me sad because in a lot of the bigger schools that were more high needs, they would have gotten support. One of the things that we're going to do through the Center for the Improvement of Student Learning is create modules online so that maybe you don't have the resources to send all of your teachers to a conference because you're not a Title I school. But you could go online and actually we'll have video. We'll have training modules online where you can go and at least get the information. You may not be able to attend the conference, but you can go and get free resources. Everything that we create is free. So we try to create materials and resources that will be helpful, that people can use in practical ways, plus give you suggestions about, you know what, here's where to go for grants. Here's where to go in your community. Here's where to think about going to get resources. And we hope that that will be helpful for all schools, not just for high need schools, but for any school that has students of color in it.